Hi, welcome to Teapot Naturals. We're located at One Bridge Connect inside Regency Mall in Jacksonville, Florida. You can also shop Teapot Naturals mineral-based foods, alkaline herbs, and herbal teas at www.teapotnaturals.com. Stay tuned for High Tea Talk. Hello, hello, hello. This is Tyresha with High Tea Talk here at One Bridge Connect. Teapot Naturals is definitely here in the building. And this is our every Thursday, 1 p.m. afternoon chat. And we are going to talk about smoking today. I am so very, very proud of my business bestie, Ebony with Puff Mistress, yes. And she has herself on this detox right now, and she's doing an awesome job. But we're going to talk a little bit about the effects of that. Now, I know you're saying, why did you choose this today? One of the reasons that I chose smoking is because I believe that when you experience something, then you are the best person to be able to explain it. Because a lot of people that never smoke or don't smoke, yes, you have a lot to say about the people that do smoke. But if you've never really smoked, then you don't know what we're feeling. You don't know what we're going through. So I want to give you some healthier insight on what's happening to our bodies when we're smoking and what is a natural way to give us some type of relief and also to restore the body and the functions of the body once you have started smoking for so many years, right? So just to be very truthful and very real with the situation, I too was a cigarette smoker. I started smoking cigarettes at the age of 18. And one of the main reasons that I started is because I used to see other women. And for some reason, when I was a little girl, I used to see women with their nails done and they just looked just so cute and just so jazzy. So when I turned 18, I got my nails done and I went and bought a box of Misty cigarettes. I never forget that. And from that time on up until I was about 37, 38 years old, I smoked cigarettes. It was Newport 100s. And that was one of the worst decisions that I have ever made in my life. And why is that? So let's talk about some of the effects of what that smoking does to us. First of all, the reason when you start smoking cigarettes and anything that has nicotine in it, what happens is your body then becomes immune to the toxicity that you're inhaling when you're smoking the cigarettes and when you're smoking nicotine. It is a direct correlation to the cells in the body. Now, when we do smoke, a lot of times what's happening is that smoking attacks your cells and it begins to deplete the level of oxygen that the cells put out in order for our body to operate in its natural state. And if your body can't operate with normal oxygen levels, then more than likely you're going to have some extreme concerns. And how you know those concerns are, what are some of the symptoms of those concerns? Well, one, you're going to have breathing problems and you can't really talk, too long. You got to take a break. And then more importantly, the longer you smoke, then you start to build up this mucus buildup, starts to surrounding the lungs, and then the lungs absolutely cannot operate in its natural state. And a lot of times it's a long-term effect. So some people can smoke for years and years and years, and then they really don't start seeing how detriment they have affected their lungs until later on. And then a lot of times they're diagnosed with COPD. And with that type of illness, if anyone is dealing with COPD, that means that your body is not getting the necessary oxygen that it needs to be able to carry it through. And not only that, it is also a direct correlation of your muscles, your artery walls, because as you smoke over time, your artery starts to thin, it starts to close in, and that is because that mucus is building up and it is not allowing your blood to flow properly. Now, how does that really affect the blood now? Okay, so when you're smoking, right, if the blood is not flowing properly, again, that means that you're not getting the appropriate amount of oxygen that supports the flow of the blood. oxygen, and blood. And when you are smoking anything that has chemicals in it or nicotine in it or anything of that nature, then you most certainly will be affected by your cells not being able to produce enough oxygen for the body or to the body for your body to operate properly. And then when you have the shortness of breath, sometimes you can't even get a full sentence out. And Lord have mercy, if you're doing exercising, you're running, you really got to take a break. You got to stop for a minute because it's very, very heavy on the body when your blood is not flowing properly and if you're not getting enough oxygen to the body. So what is happening over time, it becomes very, very addictive. So for those that have never smoked, especially with the children that are around you that you may see you smoking, right? You want to always make sure that you encourage them to don't even try the habit. Don't even try to assimilate what happens to you, or how does it taste, or I want to copy the pretty lady with the nails. It's not worth it because there's so much you can do in your life without having to worry about the supply of oxygen that you need to live your complete life. And then once you start, trust me, it is one of the hardest things to kick. And the reason being is because of the addiction. So once you've smoked so long over time, then your body assimilates this poison that also starts to accumulate in the blood. So your blood needs to be cleansed, and then it needs to be have the ability to receive the oxygen, the little bit of oxygen that you are producing in the body, but it's being compromised because you're inhaling these things that does not fit nor assimilate in the body. This is not anything that that we need, sort of say. What we need is when you do start smoking, I just messed that sentence up, but when you do start smoking, that poison level in your blood is craving it. And you don't know life and you don't know the functionings of your brain. You can't hold things together and hold things down once that poison level begins to drop. So when that poison level begins to drop in your blood, that is what's striking your ability to be able to pick up that cigarette or pick up whatever that contains nicotine to be able to do that and smoke again, to bring it back to a level. So your body, your mind, everything about you becomes so addicted to the act of smoking. So although you have the addiction to the nicotine or the tobacco, or however you want to adjust it, you also develop a habit with holding things in between your fingers. For example, after you eat, right, you get something cold to drink, you grab a cigarette. You get in your car, you grab a cigarette. You get up in the morning and it's time for you to go. The first thing that you want to do is grab your cigarette or your smoking component. Because internally, with your cells, your mind, and everything about you, you feel as if you cannot function if you do not put something in between your fingers and get the blood poison level back to the level in which your body is accustomed to moving and generating throughout the day. So it's a huge, huge addiction that a lot of people are plagued with. And really, sometimes it becomes, I'm going to say, we think that it becomes impossible for us to be able to kick that habit. Now, when I stopped smoking cigarettes, I just got aggravated with it. One of the main things that I did to kick the cigarette habit is I just never stopped trying to stop. I'm going to repeat that again. I just never stopped trying to stop. And I'm going to say that one more time. You just never stop trying to stop. Because what happens is each time that you go into a phase in your life, you say, okay, I'm gonna stop. And then you stop for 2-3 days or 5 days or something like that. Then you are actually, forcing or training the cells to function without being at that high poison level. And this is where we all take control of how our minds are functioning and how our bodies our body is functioning through the disciplines of our thoughts and of our health. And in order for you to do that, you just have to learn more. So you learn something different in each process that you go through that will actually eventually kick that habit. So I used to stop all the time. One time I stopped for 6 months. What makes us start again? Let's talk about that. So when you go through a very stressful situation or someone has gotten very, very upset and your mind is just, your central nervous system is off track or your hormones are out of whack, if you ever smoked before, then you have an internal thought that is completely false that if you pick up the cigarette, it will solve the temporary emotional problem. Because think about it. When you pick up your cigarette, the problem is still there. And then when you pick up the cigarette again an hour or two later, the problem is still there. So we have to get out of our mindset that smoking the cigarette or smoking the nicotine product is going to solve the problem. It only gives you a temporary fix, and usually in minutes, because you have a lot of people that can go through a whole pack of cigarettes in a day because their mind is constantly racing. Their mind is constantly going through emotions in their mind that's plagued or connected to the hormones in the body that actually cannot, or you think that actually cannot function without smoking that cigarette. Now, when you're just in a relaxed mode and everything is great and you're smoking, that's 100% addiction. 100% addiction. Like if you get in that car and you're driving, especially if your mind is racing, then you feel that getting in the car, lighting the cigarette or the nicotine product is just going to make the ride much better, right? I know, because I'm talking from experience. So this video is for my smokers because you guys know exactly what I'm talking about and I'm feeling. And in that second half of this video, we're going to talk about a different alternative that we can implement in our lives that will help us to wean us from the habit and or the addiction. And when you take yourself through periods like my business bestie Ebony is doing right now, you're actually taking control of the thought. You're actually taking control of the addiction to say, nobody, I'm going to tell you what to do, and versus you telling me what to do. Because if you've been doing this a long time, trust me, a lot of times we think that there is nothing that we can do to kick that habit because we're so consumed with it. Again, every time you smoke that nicotine product, that means the poison levels in your blood is declining. And your body wants that poison level to stay at an all-time high at all times. Remember that. So I personally believe that when you know the gist of what's happening and what's happening in the body, then that also contributes to your thoughts and to your process of kicking that habit sooner or later, because this is something that you don't want to deal with. It's very true with people with COPD. They have to put the thing in their throat, or the asthma situation gets worse. You know, your lungs just feel like it's closed in because there's so much mucus built up in there, and you really cannot operate in your optimal health if you are dealing with, you know, a depletion of oxygen in your body, because you have to have oxygen in order to function. And the more and more you smoke, the more days, the more years, the more months you smoke, you're slowly decreasing those oxygen levels, which means if you do turn out in your elder age, where you have to walk around with the pump, you have to walk around with the things around your nose to give yourself, I don't want to say alternative, but maybe a natural method of giving your body oxygen, because now the body cannot produce the oxygen that it needs once you've done it so long and for a very long period of time. So with here at Teapot Naturals, I am so happy that I learned a lot of different components of the herbs. And then when God said that he put these herbs on earth for everything, it is no lie. Because in our next segment, I'm going to take a little break. And then our next segment here, I'm going to talk about some natural alternatives that you can use to maybe help you with the addiction of holding something in between your fingers, or just with the addiction of smoking, and not inhaling the things that will cause even more detriment to the body. Now, it is always better and safe just to not smoke at all. So again, you just don't want to ever stop trying to stop. And then you find alternatives that can slowly transition you into a different route, since this is a habit that a lot of people seem to can't not break. And again, if you're not a smoker, then you don't understand, right? I'm gonna keep that real. If you've never smoked, for you, kudos. I mean, a lot of us is just so excited for you. And like a lot of us sometimes think, God, I wish I never would have started this habit. I wish this was never a part of my life. But a lot of us have started, and because we started, it is the number one contributor of an addiction besides food. I'm gonna say number two, because food is the major addiction that we all have to kick and, try to transition in. But smoking is most certainly the number two. So before we make judgments on people that carry these habits, then we want to be able to offer some holistic alternatives that could at least try to help you not stopping trying to stop. So we're just going to take us a break really quick for this small commercial, and I'm going to come back and talk to you about what that alternative is. Are you a smoker? Let's try something a little bit healthier and natural. Teapot Naturals offer your natural-based smoker's blend that actually helps to relax the central nervous system and clean your lungs. So shop Teapot Naturals at teapotnaturals.com and try the smoker's blend. That's right. So here at One Bridge Connect, and here shortly after the live, I'm going to go ahead and load this on the site. This right here is the smoker's blend that we put together for you here at Teapot Naturals. And I use it, and many people use it. And a lot of people that have developed that habit of smoking and tried the smoker's blend has given great feedback on what it has done for their lives. First and foremost, the two components of herbs that is in the smoker's blend is mullein, and we've talked about mullein before. It helps to restore the functionings of the lungs. It helps to dispel mucus from the lungs. So it's a bit of a component to help cleanse the lungs naturally. And then the other thing that is in here is Damiana. Damiana is a very good herb when it comes to help managing your the hormones in the body. This has a great contributor with binding your progesterone hormones and not necessarily binding your estrogen hormones. So a lot of other good benefits to the Damiana. It does help with sexual impotency. It helps with vaginal dryness and a lot of different things. But one of the main components with Damiana, it helps with the central nervous system, so it calms you down. Some of the feedback that I have heard from people that actually is smoking the Damiana as well as the mullein is they have the best sleep possible after they smoke it. And that is because that Damiana is providing minerals to the body that helps to relax the central nervous system. So it's really good for anxiety. It's really good for depression. So if your doctors or someone has prescribed those antidepressants, so this is more of a natural antidepressant that does not have the other chemical effects to it. So with the smoker's blend, it is a combination of two. Now, it is very true. There are many smokable herbs. I think you have mugwort. One of my partners told me this weekend, you need to try that mugwort to put you on point. Right? And some individuals will smoke red clover and things of that nature. But here at Teapot Naturals, I like to keep things minimal so that way you can really get the full effect of what each individual herb will do when you're consuming in the body. But there is nothing wrong with trying a more natural component to be able to help with those fixations. So here at One Bridge as well, we have Kia, Captivating Kia. She has these beautiful, beautiful crystal. This is an amethyst pipe that she used. So with this amethyst pipe, you can use this to smoke the natural herb in it. So that way, and again, this is not a video to encourage you to continue the habit. My point will always be to encourage you to continue to trying to stop the habit. So that way you don't have those detrimental effects in the long run. And smoking anything in the lungs is not natural. The lungs is here to be able to force us to process and flow the necessary oxygen in our bodies for us to live our best life. So anybody that's smoking anything, then there's an addiction and there is a component where your body is not operating naturally. So again, this video or this live today is not in promotion for you to smoke, but I do understand the effects of it. I do understand the challenges that you are having to be able to stop it. Because a lot of times the people that smoke, they're not going to wake up in 2 or 3 days and say, okay, that's it. And you're going to go through a withdrawal process. Time make up in your mind and you have that disciplinary fact and you make up in your mind that you're not going to smoke, you're going to go through withdrawal periods. And it feels like your mind is racing. It feels like you can't settle anything and you can't function properly. That's because the body has been so dependent on the smoking and the nicotine for so long. So this is where you have to force your mind to take over that addiction, and you can do it in a more natural way. So again, the Smoker's Blend at Teapot Naturals most certainly will help with calming that central nervous system. Gives you a beautiful, beautiful, great night's sleep. And also, I've heard a response that someone said that there is a spiritual heightness when they have smoked it because they feel that they connect to spirits better. And this is more on a positive side. And everyone pretty much has a different effect when they try it. But if you are a smoker, then you want to try something a little bit more natural. Now, especially in the Sabian Alkaline Hall, this is one topic that we will always delete the post when you're talking about marijuana because definitely is a very controversial topic. Well, what I'm going to tell you about marijuana today, and again, this is something I also used to do as well. I started that at 23 years old. And even Dr. Sebi said in many videos that he smoked the marijuana and it calms him. But let's talk about this a little bit. And I'm also going to give you some insight of why we don't continue the topic in the Sabian Alkaline Hall. Well, one is we want to keep the respect for those that, that don't do it or, don't want to hear about it or want anybody, your children to hear about it. And I definitely get that because we don't want to impose this habit onto our babies so they have to deal with the same problems that we deal with being a smoker. But let's just keep it real here. The marijuana in America today is not the same. I mean, let's think about it. You have the Hulk Hogan, you got the Purple, you got the Loud, you got the Firecracker, and I'm just naming names because I don't know all these names. I mean, it's totally beyond me. So what is in all these different strands that makes it so different? You have no idea. You have people all over the world, California up there and whatever, well, Colorado, these places, and they have these dispensaries. And of course, in order for them to make a different strand, they have to put something in it to make it different. Well, what Dr. Sebi has taught us and what the spirit and nature is teaching us right now is to go back to nature. Go back to what God has naturally provided on earth. So when you're talking about marijuana that is natural, it's usually dark. And I know this because I've traveled to Jamaica, traveled to Haiti, and it's totally different. First of all, when you're smoking those products in the other country, you don't get soul fatigue to where you don't even want to move for the day. I mean, you still have energy. And there's always seeds present. See, nowadays, you don't see any seeds. You're going to see little purple little buds. Some of them have some little fuzzy hairs on it. What is that, right? So what we're doing here in America here with this thing here, it's not natural. It's not the same as it was years ago. And then we wonder why a lot of our youth are really acting erotic or, just going overboard. And let me just give you my personal experience. I started smoking marijuana at 23 years old. And when I got to the point where I started to faint, what is going on here? This something cannot be right that I'm literally fainting from smoking the marijuana. So this is something that's very, very limited for myself here because it's not natural. It's not a natural component. It's not that of what God has naturally provided on earth. And although I don't know Dr. Sebi personally, I have not been in a smoking session with Dr. Sebi, but I am going to assume that what you saw him mention or what you saw him smoking had to be something that was natural, that probably had seeds, and it came directly from the earth the way that God has naturally provided. But what you're having here in America today, it is certainly not the same. So your body is going to react in so many different ways because it is not the same. Not only that, if you are a constant marijuana smoker and you just have to have this thing every day, if you never have stopped, then you have no idea what your mind is capable of when you don't consume it. One of the most important moments in my life is when I started this journey. And this was after I stopped the cigarettes and I stopped smoking the marijuana. After I got through my withdrawal period where I was very jittery and shaking and my mind was racing and going all over the place, after I got past that withdrawal period, I was extremely productive. My mind was so to the point where I was ready to work. I was ready to create. I had the time. So many things I was able to do now that my mind was clear and now that I had the full spectrum of the oxygen flowing from my cells into my blood in its natural state. It was unbelievable. So now whether there's an on and off or on and off, I am so in tuned when I am not smoking. Because when I'm smoking, number one, you guys saw it. When that weight gain started coming up, that was one of the main contributors because I thought so much stress going on. Oh my God, I can't deal with this. I need something to calm me down, so I would smoke. And then I want to eat. You want to eat everything when you're smoking, and then you want to lay down and you just want to chill and you don't want to do nothing, and you put off everything that you had to do today. You're going to put that thing off into next week. Why? Because your mind is not it has the ability to continue to function when you are in the state of being high. Now, there's a difference because there are some people that have anxiety and you have some people where their mind do race and they think when they smoke, then that gives them the ability to continue to go. Well, I challenge you to do what my business bestie is doing and challenge yourself to give it a break. And you will be amazed of what your mind does when it corrects itself, when the oxygen flows through the body naturally. And I remember I said after the withdrawal period, right? Because the withdrawal period is going to be something else. It's going to be woo, right? And in that withdrawal period, you're going to be like, I got to, I just got to. And some people just break and it's just a, forget it. I just got to right now because they can't take it. But if you challenge yourself and challenge your discipline levels to be able to get past that withdrawal period, you will be amazed of what your mind can do. You will be amazed of all the things that you were able to accomplish just by giving your body the proper oxygen levels by eliminating the smoking. So I just hope that you have gotten some great inspiration from my live podcast today on smoking. So I didn't even make any tea. There's no tea for me to drink because I wanted to focus on the smoking component. This is something that really does sell out here at One Bridge Connect. Like when I put this on the shelf, it's pretty much gone. And that tells me it's a lot of people that are dealing with that habit and they have the passion and they want to find a way to wean them from that process. And this is a great way to do it. So instead of putting nicotine in the body, try what God has naturally provided on earth. Again, Damiana and mullein is not the only smokable herbs. There are many, 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 many smokable herbs that you can try. But I like to stick with the mullein because of the components of what it does to the lungs and helps to break down the mucus in the lungs. And I also use the Damiana because of the relaxation effects. One of the positive remarks that I've got from the Smoker's Blend is it gives you a natural high. So you don't feel like, oh, just okay, yeah, I'm chilling right now, blah, blah. It just naturally calms you down. It naturally balances the hormones in the body to where you just feel like you're not getting hungry, you don't have the munchies, you don't want to, you're not just tired to where you just want to go to sleep. It doesn't affect your energy levels or any of that, right? It is called the Smoker's Blend. It's the Smoker's Blend here at One Bridge. Oh, that's not it. The Smoker's Blend here at One Bridge Connect. And after the podcast today, I'm going to go ahead and load it onto the site. So that way, if you're a smoker, just try what God has naturally provided on earth. If you're a marijuana smoker, I challenge you to give yourself a minimum of a 7-day fast from the habit. Remember, that addiction is real. And this is one of the second major addictions that people face all over the world. The first addiction is food. That's number one addiction that is wow. Like some people just eating the food and they're like, look, I can't kick it. Gotta have my pork. I gotta have whatever. And smoking is the number two.
Quick question. Can you mix smoker blends with marijuana?
Okay, so the question was, can you mix the Smoker's Blend with marijuana? There's nothing wrong with that. I personally have tried that myself. And what it does, I'm not going to say it's just going to give you a balance. You're going to have that high, but you're definitely going to relax and you probably will go to sleep, right? But it can be mixed with marijuana. And for those that may not be buying, because it's expensive too, that thing will break the pockets if you got it right? That's a whole nother bill to be able to support that habit, right? So if you're trying to stretch it out and you put just some little Damiana or whatever in there, there's nothing wrong with that. There has not been any major effects to mixing natural herbs with your marijuana. But again, the whole point is to never stop trying to stop. So that way you can really allow the oxygen to flow through the blood, and you want to decrease that poison from the blood. All right. So any questions? Any other questions? Tip, smoking blend. Think I got some family that smoke that's trying to quit. Yes, absolutely. So try the Smoker's Blend. You can use it in a pipe. Okay. Some people use the regular raw paper to smoke in. And then, some people use their blunt wraps or wraps like that, but just keep in mind that the wraps do contain nicotine, whether it's natural or not. It is tobacco. So you still will be dealing with that the inflammation of the lungs, and that mucus pile up will still continue if you're using those type of wraps. But like Dr. said, you want to do what's less detrimental. So the benefit or the message from this is today is to try to get away from those cigarettes. It is loaded with so many different chemicals that is completely constricting the blood flow, causing your arteries to clog itself. And if you don't get a hold of that in your elder days, as years go by, you could come to a point where your body cannot produce oxygen at all, which is why you see the individuals that have to, walk around with the pump and the strap around their nose. And then sometimes they have to get the trach here in their throat, so that way the air and the oxygen can flow through the body. So it's like artificial oxygen flowing in the body. Another component that helps with oxygen is sea moss. So if you're consuming your sea moss every day, that helps with the oxygen levels in your body as well. But smoking is definitely one of the number one contributors that will deplete or decrease the levels of oxygen that is flowing from your cells to the blood that allows the body to be able to flow properly. So, guys, listen, just take a moment. Like I said, I challenge you, if you are a marijuana smoker and this is something that you feel that you have to do every single day, I challenge you to do what my friend is doing and just go 5 days, even 7 days minimum, and just feel your body, feel your mind. Pay attention to what the mind is doing in itself without you having to kick that habit. Again, that withdrawal period is serious now. With that withdrawal period, you get the shakes. Okay, the mind is racing. You don't know how to calm down from the situation, and you just all over the place, right? But that is where your discipline factors in your mind will force itself to kick in. And that is where you can then take control of the addiction instead of the addiction taking control of you, right? So I just want you guys to try something different. And here every Thursday, 1:30 p.m., I will be here on a live talking about different topics of how you can go back to nature, no matter where you are. If you're going to help individuals, right, you have to go where they are. And one thing I can tell you, if you have experienced some of these things and you can then give guidance on how to resolve some of these things. Because one thing that I can say, if you've never smoked before, yes, you are going to have so much to say about people. Just stop. I mean, it's disgusting. It's just stop. Okay, if you're a smoker, it's just not that easy. I mean, let's just keep it real. It's not that easy, especially when you have been smoking for years and years and years. It's not that easy to stop. So since it's not that easy to stop and we're looking in the realistic way of things, we want to introduce a natural way for you to go back to nature and use nature to help you kick that habit. So visit us at www.tposhnaturals.com and make sure you join us here at 1:30 p.m. next Thursday. And most importantly, make sure you subscribe to our Posh Naturals YouTube channel where you can view the videos, share the videos, watch it over and over again so you can get the necessary tips and suggestions possible to help you go back to nature.